Uh, in the last class, I have given you one more assignment. So you'll be working on those two assignments. And remember, in the very first class, we have discussed about political participation and political culture. And these two concepts are very important. And when we relate media with democracy, okay? Wait. Okay. Now, uh, first, let me tell you what is political culture and how it is different from general culture. And regarding understanding political culture and its difference from general culture, you need to have your own definition because we have scholars like Almond and Barba who spoke about civic culture, which is equivalent to political culture, did not distinguish general culture from political culture. I see political culture is basically the attitude, values, behavior of the people, the very orientation of the people towards the system. That's how we understand the political culture. Okay, and how it is different from general culture is actually questioning. It's a question. So we'll definitely put a question mark how it is different from general culture and how we define general culture because culture is a very broad term, no? So this is a question every time it comes and every time it poses when we discuss about political culture. Now you see that political culture involves two components. One is object and another is orientation. So when we talk about the object is the um very system, the very dynamics of the government, policies, principles which are existing and aligning with the system. And when we talk about the orientation, we are here talking about the orientation of the people who will be investing upon their belief, values, attitude, resources upon the system. Okay, so here we are talking about people's orientations, and people's orientation could be cognitive, people's orientation could be affective, and people's orientation could be evaluative. So, accordingly, we have three types of orientation among the people, which we could see. People are cognitively, you see, active in way of interpreting the politics. They could interpret the politics, they could understand the politics, what is happening, their knowledge and awareness level of the forms of the government, of different policies of the government, of different laws that are interpreted. Everything comes under the cognitive aspect of is the political culture. Then we have affective dimension. Affective dimension basically looks into the role of those people, how they are being affected by the government norms and the policies. Okay, so that is basically the affective dimensions, and they play a role in the public affairs, in the making of the government. Now you see, when we talk about the affective dimension, we get to find that parlocutionary element here again, how we get affected by the speeches of the political party, how what has shaped our belief system and the values, how we are being persuaded, and being persuaded, the kind of action which is being derived is called affective orientation. So, whatever we are going to discuss as an orientation, no, it will form the very basic of the essence of the political culture. Then we have evaluative aspect. Evaluative aspect will basically looking upon the judgment of the individual, judgment of the group and the people towards the political system. So after being affected, being persuaded by the speech or even by any kind of stimuli, political stimuli, they will also give an opinion, a self-conscious information which might also shape the opinion towards the government, will be the evaluative orientation of the political culture. Now we see we are discussing about the orientation of the people here. So orientation of the people is one aspect of political culture, and when we talk about the object will specify the very policies, programs, principles, legislations, laws, and the whole system of the government. Now you see, it is about people's orientations. And object is also, people say that object are also reflected in the values. Now, all of the orientations, when you talk about the subjective orientation, we might also say about empirical evaluative orientation. That might be our own justifications, but that is a part of evaluative orientations. We might be very subjective. We might be also moral in terms of evaluating. We might be traditional in terms of evaluating. Okay, and we might also feel like subservient or a slave kind of whatever is going on, let it happen, or a very passive kind of evaluation you might also have. Hey, so it's all about the kind of judgment that you will throw to the system, and your judgment will actually shape the whole policy making and government making. So political culture will have two components. One is object and other is orientation. When we talk about the object, we have another two dimension, input and output. Input is what you are investing in the system. Output, after investing upon the system, the result that you have got. Investment in the sense that your political stimuli works, and you have your participation, type of participation that you will make into the system, and the outcome it will generate after you participate into the decision making, after you give an input into any kind of policies, any programs, or in government making, in campaigning, in political ad, in political analysis. Okay, so whatever input you will be investing, the output which will be generated, that too in bulk and the mass, will also categorize as object. That is object. So it is related to the very system and policy aspect of the political culture. So we can analyze the political culture in three levels. One in system level, like, and then we discuss it in process level and in policy level. In system level, in the very first class, I have mentioned about the system level political culture, where we discuss about the national pride, we discuss about the national identity, which is very important. At system level, we will be discussing. So that is the very is a structure of the political culture. We call about superstructure. Right. So at policy level and process level, we talk about basically the base of the political culture. So involvement of the citizen in the process and the policy level is must. But at system level, we talk about the orientation of the whole system. We talk about the nature of the whole system. So, nature of the whole system will be identified by even history, geography, socio-cultural development, various culture, which will shape the community, shape the society, and that will be the determining factor of the system level political culture. So, at system level, what is being focused upon to be more concretized? Ourselves. So to be more concrete, what we will emphasize upon in system level, we'll be emphasizing upon what will shape the national identity. So we talk about different nations. In one class, we have also discussed about different nation, how nation state has come into being and evolved, right? So here we will basically focus upon the national pride and national identity, and the type of a government that we have, whether it's a bureaucratic government, it's a you see it's an autocratic government. Bureaucratic government is also there, bureaucratic government, autocratic government, military corp. It is a democratic government, liberal democracy, or developmental democracy, or classical democracy, which is nowadays doesn't exist, or pluralist democracy, or you have people's democracy, participatory democracy, the kind of government, kind of system that exists at system level is important, and based on which you develop an identity of the nation. So, on the basis of the type of government, you will develop a national identity, right? Because if you have a democracy, definitely you will have a rule of law. We talk about rule of law, you will be talking about constitutional values. So, there are certain constitutional values which will be written. We have a written constitution, but England doesn't have a written constitution. But England does have a parliamentary democracy, right? So, that parliamentary democracy has also instilled some has been instilling some values in the people. So at system level, that identity will be generated, the national identity will be generated, national pride will be generated. That pride, a country take pride of the type of government that have the stable political system that we have. We take pride of a stable democratic form of government. Okay, so that lies in system level. You understood? So when we talk about the political culture, so we again, I'm repeating and reinforcing whatever we have discussing, that it basically refers to the people's orientations, people's behavior, people's attitude, values towards a political system. Huh. That's how we and people's behavior. Political behavior is different. Political, the way you behave politically based on the socialization process. Right. So political behavior is different. So you can also study the political behavior based on the existing political culture in a nation. So, in political culture, we'll be studying the object and orientation. Then, object will be input and output dimension. So, input will be the resources or the values, ideas, and also role investing upon to the system by the population. And output will be the stability, instability, or you can also see uh, the identity that we take pride of. Okay, so this object will operate at a system level. Then another aspect of the political culture is orientation, that is basically reflected upon the orientation of the masses, orientation of the populace, orientation of the citizens, their orientation towards the system, towards the government. Okay, our orientation, and orientation could also be classified into cognitive, affective, and evaluative orientation. So, cognitive orientation, we simply interpret the political system. We have knowledge, we have understanding about the type of government, about the type of policies, about the laws, about the rules, about the regulations. So, that is called cognitive orientation of the people. So, if people have cognitive orientation, that means there is a democracy exist. Although you see, we perceive democracy in a different way. Political scholars define democracy in a different way. This also said that democracy is also a form of government of ignorant, form of government of uneducated or incompetent people. So how could it be a base form of government? And hence, even Aristotle has also criticized democracy is equivalent to mobocracy, because people and average people with average intellect and very ignorant about the whole political system cannot govern. Even if you are saying that it will be the rule by the people, how will they govern, how will they take important decision? So that was a question. Okay, and hence we have different forms of democracy which are also existing. And based on the types of democracy and the types of government, we could also have a generalization of the political system existed, political culture existed, not system, culture existed. System will be too narrow. Okay, so we have this three types of orientation. One is that is cognitive orientations. So the way we frame the agendas, we find out the salience of the issues. We also frame an issue and prioritize in our day-to-day life is also a kind of cognitive orientation. Okay, and in that way, we can also provide input to policy making, right? Provide input to policy making, provide input to any program, and provide input to policy making is also has resulted or will be resulting the government making, right? System making, okay, that will make the system. So you see all are related, and then we have affective dimension, how we are affected by that system which is already existed, how we are affected by the democracy, how we are affected by the liberal democracy. In a sense, we love liberal democracy because there is a non-interference from the state in our day-to-day affairs, because state will play minimal role in the life of the private individual. State will not interfere in the life of the private individual, and the role of the state will be um, minimized and limited to protecting the territory. Okay, and hence people prefer liberal democracy, and many, not we cannot even say that people prefer. It will be a very generalized term, but that's how we can actually see it is another favorable form of government. Liberal democracy is another favorable form of government. It has existed in the USA also. But in this liberal form of democracy, we also have another facets. Like we have pluralist and elitist form of democracy. Right. Initially, we have classical form of democracies. Classical form of democracies were existed in Athens. Right. Those are direct form of democracies when there is a direct referendum and polling happen and plebiscite happen and people can vote and select the ruler. But now we have representative democracy. We will choose the representative from us. That is an indirect form of democracy. And on the basis of the role of the government and role of the government in practicing policies, in interfering the day-to-day life of the individuals and their practice, nature of activities, we can identify the nature of democracy. Now, you see, when you talk about the elitist form of democracy, many political scholars said that this is the base type of democracy, elitist form. Suppose we have that W. Reed Mill is one, and W. Mill, then we have Schumpeter's. They usually say that elitist form of democracy is the base form of democracy. Like Aristotle, they talk about the oligarchy is base form of democracy. Because there we get to see a circulation of elite. Elite will rule instead of mass, instead of people. So people will not rule, elite will rule in elitist form of democracy. Elite will rule and there will be circulation of elite as a ruling party, as a ruling elite. There is a circulation of ruling elite. Only the elite and minority will take the uh, decision which is also been beneficial for the majority. So minority will hold the opinion for the benefit of the majority. So here in elitist form of democracy, we also get to see that it involves certain features. Like it also encourages elitist form of democracy also encourages competition among different group of elites. Here I'm not talking about various associations with diverse interest, but there are limited number of elites, but there are, you see, there are strict competitions among them. And it encourages competition, it encourages criticism to the utmost against another group of elite. So it encourages criticism, it encourages competition, and in elitist form of democracy, we also get to see a trained, educated elite who will take the decisions. So they are meritorious, they are educated, and they are also technocrat in a sense. They can rationalize the decision. So there is a place of, you see, rationalization in political decision making. Now, that is another part of political culture: rationalization, aestheticization, economization. Okay, then we have this is called individualization. These are also part of political culture. So, in elitist form of democracy, we get to see that extreme sense of rationality in decision making. Okay, so many elitist form of democracy is also termed as bureaucratic. But although bureaucracy or bureaucratic form of government is a practice basically, but we define government, the nature of government will be elitist. Okay, so here we actually see that elite will always try to establish contact with the masses because that is the basis of their sustenance. So, if we discuss the features of the elitist form of democracy, we can actually see that there is a circulation of elite, there is a strict competition, and you see, apart from strict competitions, we also have this criticism against each group of elite, and there is a circulation of elite by another elite and replacement of another group of elite by another elite, and we also see the elites are well trained expert in policy making, in government making, in decision making. Okay, and also we see they will always try to establish contact with the masses because mass are the basis for by which they will survive. Okay, so these are some of the features, but the thing is that it actually cuts the liberal democracy at the very heart, right? It cuts the liberal democracy at the very heart, and it is not democratic in that way. So, if we actually understand the nature of democracy while understanding the political culture, you also get to learn about type of democratic government, and that this is important. Okay, so when you talk about the democracy, as we see that why do you prefer democracy? Because democracy is more responsive, democracy is more responsible, democracy is more caring for the people, right? And democracy is also less violent and less revolutionary. But it doesn't mean that democracy doesn't entertain dissent and disagreement and a protest. It doesn't mean that. But democracy will be less violent. There will be less space for violence and you see revolution. That's why we prefer democracy. We might have some reason to prefer democracy. If you see what are the reasons to prefer democracy, then only you will be oriented to democratic system. No, so you need to know, and that is your cognizance. So you need to exercise your cognition first. You need to understand the democratic form of government in order to make yourself cognitively aware. That means you can interpret why do you prefer democratic form of government in opposed to you say military form of government or a totalitarian form of government. So in order to shape the very cognitive orientation, it is important to understand the political system, the kind of political system, what kind of democracy we do have now. In India, is it a elitist democracy that we have? Is it a pluralist democracy that we have? Is it a liberal democracy that we have? Or we term it only a parliamentary democracy? Okay, what kind of democracy? It's a representative democracy? Okay, now we will try to be more accurate. There are different varieties, or it's a people's democracy, or it's a participatory democracy. What kind of democracy we have? It's a protective democracy? No, right? No classical democracy. But yeah, still in certain, you see, in certain commune, even in ethnic communities, we get to see that direct referendum, right? So that way of that is a direct way of choosing the representative, not a represent the ruler. A ruler will represent them basically. So it's still there, right? And protective democracy, when you talk about the protective democracy when a patriarchal chief will that is take the uh, you see that role basically, take the role to protect the territory, protect the citizens, and citizens cannot even take a decision properly. Okay, so it's a protective democracy because the patriarchal chief will take all the decision on behalf of the citizens, so there is no place for common good. Okay, So they think that we will give you some common good, and this common good will be defined by us, but you cannot question it. It is called protective democracy because we prefer more of your safety, your security than freedom. Okay, so um, we prefer safety, security over freedom. That's a protective form of democracy. It's there. We also have developmental democracy. Developmental democracy where there is a space for competition, informed decision making by the citizens. So that is also developmental democracy. We also have a developmental democracy, informed citizen competitions among the parties. So informed citizenry, they also actively taking part in politics. Okay, we have a developmental democracy in that way. Okay, so we actually see we do not have an elitist form of democracy, but sometimes we also feel that as minority is there to take the decisions, if it is elitist, no. But now you see over the last 15 years, we won't get to see any kind of elitist element in this democracy, right? Even there is a popular element and mass element prevailing. Then we talk about the pluralist form of democracy. When you talk about the pluralist form of democracy, here you actually get to see varying ideas, numerous ideas are circulating, but there is no uniformity of belief. Now, in terms of cognitive, affective, and evaluative dimensions, among the population, there is no uniformity of belief system towards the practice, role, and system. But in certain form of democracy, you get to see an uniformity of belief system, or even if it is divided on consensual and conflictual basis. Consensual, okay, in favor of government or in against the government. Okay, but in pluralist form of democracy, you get to see that there is no uniformity of belief system because there are varying groups and associations with different interests, different ideas, different ideologies to rule. Okay, so as I have already told you, government role is an will be minimized to arbitrators, or not even minimize or maximize as an arbitrators will arbitrate and also negotiate and mediate the and reconciliate the interest of the diverse groups. And here you get to see pluralist democracy is based on competition, consent, and accountability. So when you talk about the competitions, there are different groups competing to address their issues and put forth their issues of interest. Hence, there are competitions. So it's a democracy of competitions. Democracy of consent, and based on the consent of the majority group, one group, the interest of the one group will be selected, and that group might also represent the interest of the majority group. Okay, hence it is a democracy of consent and accountability. The one who is vested upon the power to rule on the basis of democratic consent will be accountable to reconciliate the interest of all other groups, and hence it is a democracy of accountability. We actually see coalition form of government, the same kind of principle run on the basis of same kind of principle, pluralist form of government. Right. So hence we get to see this democracy of consent, accountability, and democracy of competition in pluralist form of government. But at the same time, we get to see that ex- one party doesn't have a full control over the ideology of varying groups. Okay. But here in elitist democracy, the ruling party will have control over the ideology of that party who is ruling that group, right? Ruling party, they do have same ideologies, but here there are also consent will be given by multiple, not one party. There will be also multiple party who will form the government. They will have varying ideologies. There might be also classes, but they will represent the majority of other group interests, right? So there is a coalition of group. So I'll also be reflecting upon the coalition politics in one class. So you will have clear idea, because every time there is a representative democracy, when you study representative democracy, you will also need to understand the coalition of political parties, because there are numerous parties will form the government. So there is alignment of the political ideologies and interest, and there are consent, and when there is a disagreement, you get to see the break of coalition. Okay, and consent is there, because based on the consent, they have decided upon, they will also give favor, they one party, ruling party, will get favor from another party, get back from other party, to establish a coalition government. So that consent is also there, and consent in between consent, in between consent in between group is also there. Okay, and hence then we also have another form of democracy, participatory democracy. If you understand the orientation and also system level analysis, participatory democracy is very easy to understand. We get to see participatory democracy where there is a decentralization of policy making. In India also we get to see we have a participatory democracy, decentralization of policy making, democratization of each and every organ of the government. That is also another form of participatory democracy. But you see, there are certain characteristics of participatory democracy. It's said that extreme participation also erode the very basis of liberal democracy, because here people will participate in decision making in government, and too much is expected out of the people. Too much is expected out of the people. That means a chemist, an astronomer, by professions, by class, can also participate in policy making, in decision making. He's not given any kind of, like, relief from coming into the politics, and that's where the lacuna rise. So we cannot even say that we are a pure participatory form of government. Whosoever want to participate can participate, whosoever doesn't want to participate can't participate, or will won't have to participate. So we can say, but in a participatory democracy, it's mandatory for each and every citizen to participate, irrespective of their profession, irrespective of their ethnicity, class, race, etc. Participate in the decision making. Okay, so that they can ensure the inclusivity and equity in their share. So here, participatory democracy is also possible when there is a pluralism in multicultural society. Like in India is a pluralist society. We have pluralist society. Why? We are a plural society. We have like multiplicity of religions, caste, classes, and ethnicities, right? So we get to see that in a plural society, we have a mixed blend of democracy. Plural is democracy, participatory democracy, but not a pure form, right? Then we move to people's democracy, which is totalitarian most, but at the same time we know it as a Marxist form of democracy, understanding the democracy. So which can be envisaged only in the classless society. So he actually focuses upon the commune. Commune is the structure which will be rule replacing the state. There will not be state, and state which will state as state will favor the rich. Hence, a system, a state which will enslave us cannot emancipate us. That is the belief of the Marx. So, a system which will enslave us cannot emancipate us is the belief of the Marxists, and hence Marxist that ideology of people's democracy says that there will be a commune system which will replace the state. Commune system will replace the state, and this commune will be commune of the working class. We are talking about this commune of the working class and majority people. So they will rule. So in the commune, we also get to see a structure of pyramid. Okay, in a structure of pyramid, which also governed by the people. So people will govern the commune and all the structures. There will also be rule of people, decision of the people, and even you see that a small community, there is only one commune. All people will take the decisions, and in a mid-level like community, we get to see get to see of that right to choose the uh, delegates, and in a last state, not a state, in a large commune, we get to see the possibility of choosing representative. Like that way, in a pyramidal order, he reflected upon the commune structure. In a small community, there will be no delegate. People will take the decision themselves. They themselves will decide what is good or bad. But in a precisely larger size of community, there will be delegate, and a larger most size of community, there will be representative, like that way. But it doesn't encourage any other party to even come, because it is said that commune is the people, rule of the people. Hence, there should not be any possibility of coming another party with another interest, because that will be favoring the minority only, not favoring the majority, and hence it erodes the possibility of entering another political party or multiple political party into the system and compete for rule or governing. Okay. So you see, that is a people's democracy. Again, people's democracy also try to squeeze out lot from the people. So you see, if person cannot do everything and master in everything in social life, political life, economic life. So in that way, it is not giving people that right to even self-indulge, right to consume. So because entirely it is based on that motto that free development of each is free development of all. At the same time, vice versa, free development of all is free development of each. You see, and that's how it actually curtails the consumerist values. Although now China, you get to see like rise of capitalism and consumerism, but again the motto is free development of all is free development of each, and each will gain as per their need. Each will gain as per their needs is the motto. Okay. So you see, like that way, you have different varieties of democracy that will help you to understand the political system. Okay, so we talk about this system level understanding of political culture. Okay, and there you get to have the identity, political identity. What is your political identity? Liberal democracy, stable democracy. We say that we have representative democracy, which is representative parliamentary democracy, because those terms will be much more accurate, pure term, although we have some of the pluralist variety, participatory variety. Okay, but still those terms will be more pure, accurate, instead of participatory and pluralist uh, form of democracy. And hence we say that we take pride in parliamentary and representative democracy, and that is our political identity. Okay, so at system level, it will determine the political identity of the nation. National pride. We take pride. We take pride of constitutional values. We take pride of fundamental rights. We take pride of even multiplicity of religion, ethnicity. We take pride of this, right? We take pride of our education system. We take pride of our healthcare system. Hmm. We take pride of, you can also say, if it is a reality, although it's a misnomer now, you can actually see, do we take pride of even improve that gender sensitivity index, or you also see that improve literacy of women literacy, female literacy rate. We take pride of improve or diminishing rate of, we take pride of diminishing rate of crimes. Okay, so you see, and you relate to the system and the government. Now when you analyze, we relate to the type of system, type of government, and the landscape of the politics. It is also related to the society, how it has affected, the system of government has affected our day-to-day life. We take pride in freedom. We're free to speak anything. Okay, so in this system of government, and that is our identity. So if it is so, again, if it is so. No. So that is a system level understanding of political system. Then we have process level understanding. Right? You understood, no? Whatever is being delivered, you understood? Okay. Process level understanding. So in the process level understanding, as I have already told you, here what is important is the role of citizens. Role of citizens, role of us, how we elect government. So here again, participation will take a important role. That participation, political participation. So in the very first class, I have discussed about political participation, and if you have already gone through the videos, so I have already posted those videos, so you will have some understanding of political participation. So political participation refers to our involvement, our participation into the making of the government, or our participation, population's participations, citizens' participation in the decision making, participation in public life. That's how we call political participation. Hmm. And I have discussed about Milbrat, W. Milbrat, typology of participation. And by identifying the typology of participation and varying type of participation of the citizens and population, you could understand the process level. Now, now you see, we have discussed about, if you could remember, gladiatorial participation. What is that? Again, I'm asking, what is gladiatorial participation? What is gladiatorial participation? Yeah. And we have discussed about three types of participation: gladiatorial, transitional participation, and spectator's participation, not spectacular. So these are the three types of participation. Gladiatorial participation is the highest level of participation of the citizens, right? Highest level of participation where citizen is actively participating in policy making, when citizen is instrumental in making a policy, when citizen is contesting an election, citizen is an active member of a political party, when the citizen is soliciting funds for a political party, when the citizen is taking part or participating in any strategic meeting where the important decision of the party and the politics and government are taking, important decisions are being taken. So those highest level of political participation is known as gladiatorial participation. Okay. So where you have a very active role in political process. Okay. So you're either contesting the elections, you are soliciting funds for the party, you are a member of a political party, and also you are taking part in strategic meeting, not a general meeting, strategic meeting where some important decisions are being taken and made confidential. Okay, even from the masses. So you're taking part in that meeting. So will be a kind of gladiatorial participation. So people participate different way. At process level, we actually understand the role of citizen in political process. Okay. So then we talk about transitional activities. Transitional participation when you are semi-active, not that active, not that passive also. Okay, but you are also taking part in any debate discussion. At the same time, you are participating or attending a meeting, not a strategic meeting of a political party, huh? And you are also taking part in campaign and a rally. Huh? You are giving money uh, to one political party. These are transitional activities. Means in gladiatorial political activities, so your political identity is supreme. You're known as a political person. That is your identity, only identity. But here in transitional participation, your political identity is like transitional in the sense that it is often off, it is off and on, absent present identity. So you're basically a teacher, but yeah, you are also giving funds, have been providing some money to one political party. Okay, you are also taking part in campaign for one issue. You are also a member of a political party, but a passive member of a political party. Whenever you get time, you go and attend a meeting. But just because of your profession, you can't attend the meeting actively and take part in strategic decision. Okay, and you also see that you can take part in debate, discussion, in rallies, like that way. So, but political identity is not your sole identity. Then you have spectators participation. That is observers participation. You simply observe. So here it is also leads to the continuum of passive, that passive participation. Observers participation, passive participation in the sense you're wearing a t-shirt, having a logo of a party, and also a face of Modi ji, or maybe a political party leader, okay, and also sipping a coffee in a coffee mug, having that political party label. So that is also a kind of observers participation, or having that political stimuli. So you are listening to a debate hmm, for even 10 minutes, 20 minutes, then um, you are also agitated, is also a kind of participation. And that has also motivated to take part in discussion. But you are not one who is a regular, like social media influencer, or one who regularly post political comments and analysis. But sometimes whenever you get time, you can take part in decisions. So part of transitional, as well as you see this spectators, but more of a spectator. You actually see, sometimes you put a comment, sometimes not. Sometimes that comments can make change, so it will lead to transitioning. But okay, yes, liking one party's ideology, okay, that is a kind of, as spectators participation. Okay, you have what's parliamentary debate, spectators participation. Like that way, we can actually see the role of people in the political process, role of citizens, populace in the political process. They do perform different role, and they might be entirely apathic also. So apathy is also highly, and our non-participation. Apathy is non-participation, indifferent towards politics. So here, in terms of participation, there are certain factors: your own personal attribute, personal behavior, then group behavior, the group you are affiliated, the whole environment, and the intensity of your political stimuli will affect the level of participation. You understand? So these are the four factors which will affect the level of participation. One is the intensity of receiving the political stimuli. We all receive political stimuli. Okay. But how you react to that stimuli? You react and then you take some action. You expose to any kind of campaign, rally, debate, issues, and then you react. How you react? You go, okay, you are agitated most, so you become an activist after that. Okay, and you have been taking part in rallies, campaigns after that. Okay, so it is moving yourself, and perhaps by dint of that, you have received a full-time political identity. But actually, from observer identity, you got a full-time identity. That could also be possible. So intensity of the stimuli, which will also lead to act. Here again, see the parlocutionary effect is there. Okay, any kind of stimuli, listen to a speech and you hesitated yourself. Okay, or maybe, yeah, hesitated in the sense you love this so much, that is also kind of hesitated. Okay, we have decided I'll join the party. And you, like, become a kind of gladiatorial participants here. Okay, so that is what I was saying. Okay, that is uh, what was about the factors that will determine our participation. One is intensity of the stimuli we exposed to. Hmm. You understood? And second is our personal attribute. Are we too flexible to change ourselves at any cost? Are we too rigid or adamant not to cope up in any kind of changing landscape? Okay, that is important. Huh. So that will determine your level of political participation. Okay, if you're too rigid, but okay, you are a gladiator participants, in that way it is fine. Huh. But definitely, your ideologies will also be rigid. Your personal belief factor will also be rigid, and your many a time when it is too rigid, it is also be impacting upon the policy aspect. Now the third level, if it is too rigid, whether it could be taken or not, whether it is entirely on the basis of ideology or you are actually taken account of the personal attribute of the populations and their interest of the populations, their on the common good of the population, general will of the population. Okay, so that is important. Or you see that if you are narcissistic and you are over enthusiastic, these are related to, it said that people who are active in politics, they're over enthusiastic, they're narcissistic. Okay, and so that is important. Okay, and then group attribute, the kind of group that you are affiliated to. Even you may not be affiliated to any kind of political group, okay, political party, but you are affiliated to your peer group in a school, in a college, in a university, right? So that peer group will definitely help you to shape your political identity and will motivate you to take part in politics, maybe spectators politics, transitional politics, right? Or maybe motivated to be a gladiator participant or gladiator participation. You contest election and then you become a party member. You have already an active party member. In college also you have started all these political activities. You have contested this student that college that student politics in universities, and then again you are also looking for getting a ticket in a party for contesting election, gladiator. So your group has already affected you, and you do have definitely you will see those who are very active in politics, they do have a, very strong-willed, and ideologically polarized, and kind of like mentality, and the friend cycle is also of such kind. They do not make friends with different variety of people. So that's what I have experienced in that university. It was there, and there is a gladiatorial level of participation you get to see, and to an extent, and in Guwahati University also you get to see nowadays. So not nowadays, right from the very beginning, but in Jamia there were not the gladiatorial activities on the part of the students at all, because earlier initially it was there, but there was some killing and murder happened, then they have actually the banned the student union in Jamia. Hmm. uh, but this participatory democracy, to exercise participatory democracy at a school level and college level, having a student union and choosing a representative, the idea of this politics is very, very important. Hmm. So at process level, we are talking about role of the citizen, the kind of participation they have in the politics. Huh. Then in the policy level, we will be analyzing the policies of the government, issues of the government. So here we get to see the role of both government and citizens in equilibrium, how they interpret the policies, whether policies are in favor of the interest of the people or not. Okay, the kind of policies, the kind of issues the government has taken, and the public agenda, whether it is created by media agenda and public agenda has taken up the at government front, or you see that government has also taken the public agenda as their agenda or not. So, like that way, we actually analyze some of the policies on women, policies on children, policies on aged people, some of the policies where citizen will also analyze, and different platform, different society, civil society organization will analyze, and they will show their stake. Okay, and they will show their stake in that policy. So different pressure group will analyze the policies. They will show their stake in the policies. Okay, so if people can say, suppose we have that UGC now, they have come up with um, uh, a new uh, uh, draft policy in terms of uh, UGC Care State Journal, which will be removed. Now they want academicians to even put forward their comment. So the system of feedback, taking the feedback, so their feedback to improve the system, improve the policy, will take part in that policy level of that. You see, that political culture. Okay. Okay, so in policy level or political culture, you basically analyze the policies, whether the policies reflects the issues of the interest of the people or not. Okay, and also whether it has undermined the people's interest and reflecting upon only the pride and identity of the nation or not. So you actually try to create an equilibrium between the existing system, their values, their beliefs, and interest of the people, through participating. Are you understanding? So there are also values and ideologies of the government, but that should not go against the interest of the people, right? Whether interest of the people are getting proper place in a policy or not, that is being evaluated. Okay, so and there we evaluate, as we have said, that cognitive orientation, then affective orientation, and evaluative orientation. We evaluate the policies, we evaluate the political system here. Okay, so a lot of elements are being discussed by even Almond and Varva. When you talk about the political culture, who is the originator of political culture is Almond and Varva, Gabriela Almond and Sydney Varva. And apart from this three um, varieties of orientations and also system, we have three types of political culture. Hmm. Parochial culture, subject culture, and participant culture. In the very first class, I have discussed about those three very culture. Parochial culture is a culture where the citizens and the population are unaware about the system of the government. Subject culture, when citizens are aware about the system of the government and the policies, but they play a kind of subservient role and subject to the government, and government making the subject of the people, institutionalizing their role here in subject political culture. And in participant political culture, you actually get to see the participation of the people in a policy and a process level, and also people cognitively they are aware, like they have a very effective cognitions, okay, which cannot be manipulated. They understand the role of the government, the system of the government, and they take part accordingly. Okay, that is what participant political culture. So, based on the nature of the society, even pre industrial society, we talk about primitive societies, a parochial culture, we get to see in primitive societies when there is no organization, even, parochial, highly parochial. Even in India, also, we have parochial culture. Initially, prior to British rule, we say that we had parochial culture. And when we say the history, geography, and socio-political development will determine the culture, then we see that see our history will till the development of nationalism in India, and that is because of the British legacy. So our development of nationalism is also originated from British domination, right, and British subjugation. So in that way, we are also sharing the commonality with African nations. Common subjugation becomes the framework of nationalism in developing countries. Right. So you see that history has shaped the origin of political culture. Even prior to the advent of British, India did not have any political culture, it is said. But we tried. Now, India did not have political culture as per the Western scholar. Now we are trying to Indianize it. We have political culture because people do not know about the Mughal history and Mughal rule. And prior to that, Harappan civilization, huh, such a rich civilization, people do not even know. So we're trying to indigenize the political culture and the norms. We have also Saptanga theory. People do not know about Saptanga theory. Huh. Kautilya's Saptanga theory is important. So how to rule? There are seven elements in Saptang theory. So we have a very rich culture and heritage and civilization. We take pride of. Okay, but you see, uh, uh, our political culture prior to advent of the British is always termed as a parochial culture. But because we have nothing to take pride of, it is said. So this is from Western lens. This is not from Indian lens. From Western lens, they said that all pre-industrial societies, because they categorize. There's a habit of categorizing and rationalizing. Okay, rationalizing, when you talk about rationalization of politics, rationalization of political communication, then you see there is a habit of categorizing and each and every unity into empirical basis so that you have some data, you have some analytics, and mm, you can objectify and quantify after measuring those categories. Okay, but the values, emotions of the past, values of the past, belief system of the past, some ideologies, hmm, will not get any kind of space, or you say, uh, yeah, in that rationalization of politics there. So, Western scholars and even that Western people usually rationalize the politics and rationalize uh, their analysis of political culture. Okay, so you see, in pre-industrial society, again they have categorized all the pre-industrial society. India also term there is no participant culture at all. So Alman Barba came up with the civic culture and political culture in 1963. Okay, so and they identify India also as a pre-industrial society. Even industrial society, uh, in the initial years, there is no, you see, this that participant culture. Only parochial culture prevailed, and people did not even know who is ruling, and they have little interest in the affairs of the um, government making. What they are into is the governance of their own, because when it actually focuses on too much ethnicities, because they believe only in the self rule, and whatever good will happen, that will also good to the community, but they cannot take part in the greater good. They cannot take part in any kind of decision making which will reflect upon the greater good beyond their communities, and hence they are parochial. That is the definition of parochiality. Okay, So if you are taking part, according to parochial culture, if citizens are taking part beyond their commune, for a greater good, determining the greater common good or welfareism of the population, then it will not be parochial. It will not be considered as parochial. But people, it's not like that there is no organization of the people. There is an organization of the people, but organization is very poor because limited to that community. Okay, so they only think about governing their community, not beyond that. And hence they are parochial. They don't even know what is happening at the center and at higher level, the system, the values. And hence, their orientation, their attitude, their belief, first, they lack cognitive orientations and they're not even affected by what leaders are saying. So, no affective orientations. And how will they evaluate even? They can't evaluate the system at the core, at the top. They only evaluate the system which is minutely reflecting upon their needs and interest. And hence it is parochiality, and hence India, when there are multiplicity of ethnicity, we take pride of, but yeah, Western said that, okay, it's parochial society. Parochiality. So when we talk about communalism, parochiality, yeah, communalism is parochiality, according to them. Even ethnic nationalism also for them is a parochiality. Regionalism is parochiality. We talk about regionalism. So many states have come up, parochiality. Okay, so that's a parochial culture. We talk about. Then we talk about what? Another variant of culture is subject culture. Subject culture, when people are oriented, in the sense cognitively, they can interpret the system of government. They do have that cognition. They're aware of the system of the government, of the policies, but they don't take part in uh, putting forth their ideas, issues, even they don't criticize the government. And also making, as a result, they are making government to institutionalize their rule over them. So they simply become a slave. They limit, they have minimized themselves to a slave. And you see, some subject which will be listening each and every that the directions they receive from the government. Hmm. Uh, you see, but that citizens and the population are highly aware. They're highly aware about the system of the government, highly aware about and, uh, the different ethnicities, even if they have, and the system and procedure of selecting the government. It is important. Procedure of selecting the government. They know about procedure of selecting the government. They also take part, but they won't have a voice. Hmm. So it is also said that in Germany also this kind of culture prevail, subject political culture. Huh. And I have also found in Japan also this kind of culture, subject political culture prevail. Or subject participants, they might say subject participants. So there is a mixed variety of two. Then we have participant political culture. When we talk about the participant political culture, it is easier to understand. Hmm. Population will take part actively in the making and unmaking of this government. They are fully aware, they are affected by the change and transformation of the government. Every time there's a change and transformation will affect their life because they know, they're aware about how a system is running, the procedure of electing the government, what government is doing, the kind of policies they're taking the policies. Okay, what are the changes required? They also know their level of participation can bring the change or not. Okay, is there any alternative way to bring change or not? They know. So they are part of the participant political culture. Okay, uh, uh, and apart from that, we have Sydney Almond, um, Gabriel Almond, and Sydney Barba's classification of these three types of culture. We also have another variant of culture. And this is given by Finer, Samuel Finer. Samuel Finer has also discussed about another four typologies of culture, that is minimum culture, low culture, development culture, and mature culture. Minimum culture are there in Nigeria where there is hierarchy. Diarchy in the sense, when you talk about diarchy, there is also a combination of intellectual elite and military rule, okay, governing the state. So you see, even that intellectual of the state prefer a military rule. So there is a very weak form of military rule is a weak form of government, but intellectual elite of the state is in favor of military rule, and it is through which they also govern, and hence there is a diarchy. So it's there in Nigeria. That's a minimum culture, political culture. In low political culture, there is also aberration is revenue earning mechanism, and in many even low political culture, as per definers definitions, you get to see. mm, uh, that military cop is there in West African countries, low political culture, minimum political culture, and uh, there is no participation at all from the population. And then we have developed political culture, which is there in Australia, development political culture, Australia, in Soviet Union, and in Russia, and Germany and Japan. Hmm. This is equivalent to subject political culture. And we have the mature political culture, which is there in West Asia, and when government, which is equivalent to participant political culture. I'll be discussing about it in the next class, because this is also a matter of attention span. No, right? So okay, so it's fine. Okay. Any question? Any question? Any question?
Now we talked about four factors that determine our participation. One was personal behavior, another was group, and there was intensity of receiving political stimuli. What was the last one?
Last one is the political climate, the political environment, or environment of that territory. Okay, it's fine. That's a political landscape will definitely like determine the uh, political stimuli and also political participation.